Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Hungry Dave here, and we are going to be bringing you a really cool matchup today. It's going to be Doll Stall, a modified version of Andrew Mahone's list by Tricky Jim. You should go check him out. There will be a link in description for his channel against a Goons matchup by deck created by Good Vibe Collectibles, and we have Good Vibe Collectibles here supporting us on this channel, and we're going to get started here, logging into PTCGO. I will pull up the deck profile right here once we get started, before we get into the match, and it's a really cool deck. I've been playing it a little bit during quarantine with the online tournaments that have been going on just locally for me, and so we're going to get into the deck profile. I really like Dollstall mainly because you get to see, like, you get to wait and see what your opponent does. You don't really have to react to anything. Like, your opponent can have like 10 energy on the field, and you can just be like, okay, cool, I still win. So right now we have Cutie Fly here, mainly just to get that Rabombi in play. And what that does is that we're playing that for that Mysterious Buzz ability. And as long as this Pokemon is on your bench, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to your fairy Pokemon in play. So that's going to be great because Boss's Order is in the format, with Rebel Clash being introduced a little while back. And so they will not be able to target our fairy type Pokemon. And our main boy right here, or girl, is Florges, and Florges has the ability Wondrous Gift. So you may be wondering, okay, how will Dollstall work? You only get 4 Lily's Pokédolls into play, so you need to find a way to recycle them. So luckily, Wondrous Gift does that for us. So once during your turn, before you attack, you may flip a coin. If it's heads, put an item card from your discard pile on top of your deck. And you may be saying, Dave, that doesn't sound good, because that's a 50% chance. That's not consistent. That won't work 100% of the time, and you're right. Um, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but for just consistency cards, we have Jirachi. We play 3 of those just to get started. Zacian V, just to get those early cards in on your turn 2, and even it helps out later game if he sticks around. You have Bench Barrier Mew for those Pikarom matchups, and Wobbuffet with the Shady Tail ability, so your opponent can't play any Prism Star cards, and that's good against Pikarom as well because they can't play Tapu Koko. It's good against other decks that just try to disrupt with Prism Star cards. Victini Prism Star in Baby Blacephalon could be a problem because with this deck you're trying to deck out your opponent, and with Victini Prism Star just constantly shuffling energy back in, the game could go on forever. That could be a problem if Wobbuffet is prized, but we'll see later on that that may not be as much as a problem because usually Wobbuffet's inside that deck in those key matchups. And then, if not, worst case scenario, you just take a tie. I know a lot of people may want to just win, but sometimes you gotta just do what you gotta do, take a tie, it's fine. And even on the online ladder, people may just see Dollstall and be like, okay, I'm not wasting my time with this. So, like I said, we have the Lily's Pokédolls, which is our item card that we're going to be recycling and getting with Florges. Then we're going to be playing Sky Pillar, because Dragapult VMAX is a thing, and with any Pokemon that can drop damage down with attacks, we don't want them targeting any of our Pokemon with that, like especially our bench Pokemon, except for our active, which would be the Lily's Pokédoll. And so Sky Pillar helps us with that. It will be rotating out. This deck will be rotating come August, but it's a nice fun deck that I like to play just in the meantime. You get to prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks, including damage done to benched Pokemon. So that helps with spread damage, that helps with anything that damages the benched Pokemon. It really just helps out. And what I added in here was, this is where my list differs from Andrew Mahone's, is I decided to play 2 Belelba Bryson Man cards because with that I feel you're able to you can mill 6 with Lieutenant Surge's strategy, which I also put an additional copy of that in here. just so you're not scrambling for that late game. So you're able to mill 6 in a turn, which is phenomenal. And then you can always pop those in there, pop those back in there with Pal Pad, which is over here, or you can do one at a time with Surge, Belelba, Lusamine, which is also really good. And then you were probably wondering, how is Florges, right over here, going to be consistent, right? Because that's a heads flip. It's 50% chance. It's not going to be great. But with the new trainer, well, relatively new, trainer from Cosmic Eclipse, Will. So if you have, the ideal setup is to get 3 Florges out on the board, 2 or 3 Florges, depending on the matchup. And if you flip 2 tails in a row, right, that may not be great. So then you have Will in your backup, because you are going to be down in prizes. The whole goal is for your opponent to take prizes. And you're not really worried until they get down to that last 2 or 3 prizes where you're like, okay, now I really need to ramp it up. But by that time, you should have enough time to get things going. And we do also have Stealthy Hood, so if they do try to target that Rabombi on the bench with any damage, if they get rid of your Sky Pillar, you're able to do that Stealthy Hood on the Rabombi to make sure that it cannot get affected by any of your opponent's abilities, like Ninetales gusting it up with its Nine Temptations ability, or like if Weezing's on the bench, but I mean, like, that really wouldn't come into play because Weezing isn't a thing that much anymore. But some people play some wacky Roxy decks. But so that's the list. We have Steven's Resolve and Research in there as well, just for more consistency, getting the cards that you need. You can also play some mind games with your opponent with Steven's Resolve, because then they may Marnie you, and you can just get some stuff that would be helpful, but not really ideal, and they can Marnie you into a better hand, possibly. So we'll get into a game here. It doesn't run any energy, which I like, because it really gives you all the nuts and bolts that you can do for the deck and what it needs. So we are going to go into a standard match against Good Vibe Collectibles. You should really check them out. They have a bunch of great Pokemon card related products, theme decks, like old school stuff, even some new stuff they're getting in there, so really check them out. They help these videos happen, and they're just really sociable, really great to work with, and I'll put a link to their eBay store in the description below. So here we get going here. See how Dollstall works out against this Goons matchup. That can be one of the trickier matchups for us, so getting a Skyfield into play is going to be huge. It looks like our opponent is going to be doing the coin flip. We get to go first. So with this deck, we want to go first because we want that possibility of a turn 2 evolution. So not a bad starting hand here. We do get a Jirachi, a Doll, and some supporters to get going. You see our opponent just mulliganed, so we're going to get to see a few extra cards, see what's in their deck. They're playing a Make Do engine, so that will definitely be interesting for us. Yes, we would like to take another card. Seeing more cards is always great. So not the best start here. We don't want to put the Lily's Pokédoll down, but we do want to get something else into play, so let's Stellar Wish. That's a bit of a whiff right there. What do we want to do? I think we want to take the Lusamine. Lusamine's always good. And then next turn, I think we will put the Stealthy Hood on Jirachi, so then we can't get knocked out from Zigzagoons if they try to scoop up a bunch. I think my opponent will play like 4 scoop up nets, so that could be a bit of an issue. But we're going to see what we have here. A Marnie wouldn't be exactly a bad thing. I mean, it would reduce our hand size, but we do have Stellar Wish to get out of that. We are going to see the Sableye V come down, so that's going to be definitely something. We're going to see if our opponent has an energy. Scoop up net. Okay, so they're definitely trying to apply some pressure here on us. That Tails flip was kind of big. They have the energy on Sableye, but again, they're not really able to put damage on the Jirachi except with that Sableye, so that's going to be a turn, that's going to be a two-turn knockout. We'll put the Zacian down, we'll Stellar Wish, see what we get, and I think we'll take the Rare Candy, and we will Steven's Resolve to end the turn. Get a few Flabébés down. I don't believe my opponent plays Boss's Order in this list, but we'll also grab a Florges, I think would be good. Can look to see what we're missing. So we have that Scoop Up Net, that's going to be great for the Jirachi. The Sky Pillar only does effects of attacks, so I think that will be good. We could also grab another Stealthy Hood, but not too worried. I think we'll just do that. Hope our opponent doesn't Marnie us, but if they do, it's not the end of the world. We want them to take a few prizes, so if they do end up gusting up the Zacian V, it's not that big of a deal. Again, we're not going to be attacking, and if they too take these 3 prizes that are on the field, not that bad. Our only thing that we need to worry about is possibly Pokemon catchers. Oh, okay, and my opponent did not get an energy attachment for the turn, so this could be a big turn for us here. So we get the Flabébé down, and we have 2, so they can't really target us in that way. Another Quick Ball, that's good, but also a Rare Candy's good. So I think we'll go with that's a tough decision. I think we'll go with the Rare Candy, because that way we can Steven's Resolve, get 2 Florges into play next turn, and that's always good. So we'll Steven's Resolve, we'll get a Florges, and I think getting another Pokédoll isn't bad, and then a Scoop Up Net for getting that Jirachi out of play eventually, which will probably happen next turn if we can pop off, which isn't a bad thing. And we do have the Belelba in hand, and then what we can start doing is, as long as the Zacian stays on the bench, we can try to make sure that our opponent can't do much. So even if one of these Flabébés, which he definitely targets, we have played some matchups like this before, but that is all they can do. Unfortunately, our opponent does not have anything big on their side of the field to really try to take a KO. So I think we're just going to be able to set up here, which is going to be great. So we're definitely going to do that. We'll put 2 dolls down. That's going to be key, is using our dolls. I think we're going to try to get another Flabébé into play, because that's not a bad thing. And I could have gotten a Florges there, but because we could get a Quick Ball off of this, So, my opponent is bricking hard, as you can see there. But I think we will grab the Belelba, because we don't exactly need much of anything else. And then I think going into the doll wouldn't be a bad thing. But we don't really need much else at this point. I think maybe milling 3 could be good. It's always good to mill. We could also get that Zacian out of play, but it's all good. So what did we discard there? For us, we discarded a Florges, which isn't great, but also not bad. I think what we'll try to do here is Wondrous Gift. Nope. So that's where you can see where the head flips come into play. We just flipped tails twice there. That's not great. But we're gonna save the Ordinary Rod. Okay. Cool. And we just get to draw more cards. So we're gonna get into the sweet spot of the deck pretty soon. We're already set up, which is great. They're going for a scoop up net on their side of the field. I wonder what that means. Oh, nothing. So I think we will just proceed to a Stellar Wish here. Yeah, that's one of the last key pieces that we need there. That's cool. We will... No, not Brave Blade yet, but I think Wondrous Gift. Another Tails, wow. Okay, finally we get a Heads. I think that could be good. Getting that rare candy out. Scoop up netting that Jirachi, putting a doll in play. We're going to try to get that third Flabébé down, and I think Intrepid Sword will be good. Yeah, look at that. We get that rare candy, get a Cutiefly, which isn't coming into play this matchup that much, but would not be surprised if our opponent just ends up scooping here, because we are all set up, and then the rest of the game is just going to be us stalling our opponent until we win. So I want to check the deck first. I think, yeah, I'm not going to risk it. I don't remember how many Florges we had in the deck, so we'll just put another Florges back in and put the Jirachi back in the deck. We'll see it later. Yeah, okay, so we could have just Pokecombed. Not a big deal, because we can always get the, whatchamacallit, the Ordinary Rod back if they do end up knocking out our Florges. But I think right now, just going to end up, milling another 3 cards. And then next turn we'll Lusamine, and then that's good. Okay, awesome. What did we kill from our opponent? We killed another Zigzagoon and another Cincino, so it's not looking good for our opponent. Looks like they're loading up energy on the Sable IV, but I don't think we really need to worry. So I guess we will just... Intrepid Sword seems good. Okay, cool. We ended up getting a Stealthy Hood, which is great because we can then put that on one of our Florges here, so then we can at least have one Florges in play if they do end up being able to pop off and get going here. I would love for them to take a knockout on my Zacian. Don't know if that's going to happen. What I could do is I could force the Zacian into play by putting the Pokédoll in the bottom of the deck. Okay, we see Ordinary Rod getting the Zigzagoon back in the deck. Not a bad idea. I don't know if they're going to go for a retreat here next turn or an obstruct, but that doll's not going to stick around long enough to find out. I think we're just going to end up Lily's Pokédoll and say, here, take a free Zacian. Free 2 prizes. It just speeds the game up a little bit, because then we can do multiple things at once. Yeah, like we are able to mill 6 cards next turn if we want to, with if they end up knocking out the Zacian V, which they might. You never know. I don't think really need anything else, but it doesn't hurt to Intrepid Sword. We can always burn some cards. So we're starting to get into that sweet spot, that 13 cards. We did have a pretty good start, and our opponent, we had a decent start. We only started with a Jirachi, ended up getting the Zacian into play. Our opponent has had a really slow start here, and I really wonder where it's going to go. Okay, so that Tool Scrapper coming down, but what is nice is we are able to Wondrous Gift the Stealthy Hoods back. I would like to see Will. We'll put that Stadium into play, because why not? We might as well play it. We will... Oh no, before we Wondrous Gift, we will mill 3. Discard the top 3 cards. Okay, there's 2 of the Will. I don't mind seeing 2 will in the discard. That's our only 2 will in the deck. But as I've said, we're getting down to that sweet spot where we're able to start recycling cards and getting back exactly the pieces that we need. Okay, so we get a heads flip. That's good. We'll get a Stealthy Hood back. It would have been great to get 2 out of those 3 heads flips, but you really only need 1 heads flip at a time here. I'm pretty sure this Zacian will be going down next turn. It would only make sense for my opponent because they want to... Their goal is to take prizes, and they can't win a stall race, right? So I guess during my opponent's turn, I guess what I'll talk about is some of the weaknesses of this deck. So some of the obvious weaknesses is decks like this where the abilities can hit the bench Pokemon, possibly knocking out a Lily's Pokédoll, which is never great. Because we don't want them to knock out multiple Lily's Pokédolls in one turn. So we see another energy attachment. I'm wondering what's going to happen with that from my opponent. But some of the weaknesses, this deck has a hard matchup against Dragapult VMAX, because they usually play Chaotic Swell as a counter stadium, but we do have Lusamine to get that stadium card back. And so that's not that big of an issue later in the game if we're able to get going. That can be the trouble sometimes, is getting going, but once we get our opponent in the lock, where we just keep throwing dolls up, they either end up conceding or realizing, like, oh, okay, like, there's no way of really winning. Okay, so our opponent does have a Marnie. That could be a bit of an issue later on if they're able to get it here. Let's see. Nope, we see a Cynthia from our opponent. So they will possibly see that Marnie for next turn, so what we want to do is we want to prepare as best as possible. Yeah, we're going to see that Zacian go down. So this is kind of the tricky bit, is getting Marnied late in game. If your opponent does keep a Marnie late game, it can be a little stressful because you're not able to do everything that you want to do in a turn. Forgot that you can't just bench a Pokédoll, you need to put it into play there and then bring it back over. But what we will do is we will slap down that Stealthy Hood on the Florges that is quote-unquote at risk of being knocked out. I think we will Lieutenant Surge, for sure. We will get back... We will use Lusamine. I think getting back a... I don't think we really need Will yet, but I think we'll just Lusamine Chain for right now. That seems good. And then... Oh, we will get 2 more Wills. We will get a Lusamine and Surge back from that. So now we have more supporters in hand. I think it wouldn't hurt to use the Pal Pad, use Lusamine, and get a Will back that way too. Let's put the Pal Pad on the top of our deck if we're able to flip aheads here. Could be a big turn for us if we're able to put the Pal Pad back. There we go. Usually the third time's the charm, as they say. Put the Pal Pad back. We'll burn some cards we don't want to see. It will shuffle the deck. We'll put that back in. Get that. Just killing some cards. Just to reduce the chance of our opponent trying to make us brick. And then we just wait and see what they do here. We have everything in the deck that we need, and we have everything in the hand that we need. So even if we get Marnied here, it couldn't be that big of a deal. We do need to worry about that Zigzagoon a little bit. They're deciding where they're going to place the damage. Putting it on another Florges. I guess that makes sense because they would then be able to get another Obstagoon into play and just knock out a doll if they wanted to, which wouldn't be too bad for them to get rid of another doll. Another Zigzagoon coming down, putting some damage on Florges. So we're going to see where my opponent ends up putting that damage. But it looks like this turn they can't take a knockout with Crazy Claws, which is kind of funny, because if they just put 10 damage on that Lily's Pokédoll up there, they would have been able to take a knockout. We'll see if our opponent has the Marnie. They don't. Alright, so this is going to be a big turn for us, a really big turn, because we're going to be able to mill 6 cards from both us and our opponent with the Surge, and that's how we get out of this load search trap, which can be a little tricky. So we Surge, gonna discard the top 3 cards of each player's deck. Okay, we have a Pokédoll in the discard now. Discard top 3. Another Lusamine. What's in there? So we discarded the Palpad. That's in there. Lusamine. So next turn may just be a Surge, Lusamine, Belelba. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And if we don't flip... Okay, we got a heads. So that's okay. So we're going to bring that Palpad back. Which is going to be helpful, because even if they Marnie us, we get a Palpad into our hand. We also have a Will for next turn. Worst case scenario. Will is in the discard now. Okay, so we're going to see a rare candy come down on an Obstagoon. Oh, they placed the 30 damage on Florges. I probably would have just gone for the Pokédoll, to be honest, but that can be good about this deck, is some people don't know how to play around it, so you may just be able to get a bunch of good cards. Oh, another Scoop Up Net, or Super Scoop Up missed by my opponent. How many Scoop Up Nets or Super Scoop Ups is that? That's 2. So we see our opponent is in their last 3 cards here. That's interesting. Ordinary Rods in the discard. Let's see. And we win. Our opponent did not get the Marnie. Did I discard the Marnie last turn? Yeah, and we just see a scoop from our opponent. They knew that we could get the Belelba and Bryson Man back. So that's a game with Doll Stall. Probably be showing you guys a sneak peek of next time. I think we may get into some games with Unknown Hand. One of my friends gave me this list. I'm thinking about making some tweaks to it, just consistency wise. Could help to have either Lusamine in there or some other stuff, but you really never know until you really get into it. So I think that's going to be all for now, and I hope you enjoyed that deck profile, and be seeing you guys on the next round. Hungry Dave out.